Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I just want to say thank you for all you're doing.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate you. I have this question. Okay, so I'm in deportation, and I have my master hearing coming up August of 2020. So I have this 16-month-old baby. Is there a way I can get out of deportation?
I don't know. How long have you been in the United States?
8 years.
Well, and you're out of status right now?
Yes.
And how did you come to the United States?
Yeah, I had a visa.
Okay. If you are in removal proceedings for deportation, there's 3 general groups of people who would be able to win their deportation case. The first group would be if you've been here for more than 10 years and you can show hardship to your family, but you haven't been here for 10 years. That would be cancellation removal. Another way would be I'm immediately eligible for my green card. You would be immediately eligible for my green card if you're married to a U.S. citizen, perhaps. You're an abused spouse of a U.S. citizen. Maybe there's other ways that you may be eligible for a green card. I don't know. I would have to have a consultation with you. That's another way to beat the deportation. And the third way to beat the deportation is my life's in danger if I go home, which could be any combination of asylum, withholding of removal, convention against torture, something about you're going to be hurt if you go home. Those are your 3 groups of types of cases that would win. So having a 16-month-old child and only being here 8 years, unfortunately, doesn't do much for you. I don't know what country you're from, whether there's any danger if you go home.
Nigeria.
Okay, I don't know if you have the ability to get married to somebody, but you certainly, in a bona fide marriage, obviously, but you're certainly going to need help. So hold on one second. We're not going to solve your problem here on the show, but you could have a consultation. Let's go to Antonio in Westchester County, New York. Antonio. Antonio.
Yes, sir.
How are you? You got to lower me
I'm
in the
good.
background.
How are you?
Lower me in the background, please.
Okay, sir. Do you hear me now?
Yes, we're good now. What's going on?
Okay. So I have a question. I met my wife in 2000. I came here in 2016 November, and I met my wife in 2018, and we got married in 2019. So we live together right now like more than 1 year. But when she moved, we lived together like after 9 months. She became a different person. When I met her, I never know if she smoked, and I asked her everything. She said no, she not smoke. And when we live together, her brothers, they all the time come to home when I go to work. They smoke at house. So I tell her, hey, listen, when I come home all the time, I smell marijuana at home. I'm not smoke, and you say you not smoke. Who am smoke at home? She say her brother all the time. I say, hey, listen, we live together. You have to tell your brother. I'm not going to tell them.
What is your question, Antonio?
The question is, she was very aggressive and she smoked marijuana at home and his brother, and I tell her to tell them to stop.
What is the question? You're unhappy she's doing drugs in your house? She's abusing you? She physically hurt you? Okay, all right. Being unhappy, unfortunately, doesn't grant anybody a green card. There's no such thing as unhappiness application. All right. So you have, if you're in a marriage that's not working out, and I say this all the time, there's 3 possibilities. Possibility number 1 is you stick it out. You learn to be happy with her. You figure it out. You both compromise somehow. She agrees. If it's really the brother, she agrees. You know what? Brother's not coming over to smoke anymore. Doesn't the brother have his own house? Why can't the brother smoke in his own house? Why does he have to come and smoke up your house? That makes no sense. Okay, but you figure it out. All right. Number 2, if you can't work it out, you leave the marriage, get divorced, and fall in love with somebody who doesn't smoke and whose brother doesn't come and crap your house up. Or number three, if there is abuse, if she physically abuses you, there's extreme emotional abuse.
She punches me all the time, but I tell her I'm going to call the police for her.
So then call the police.
And she tell me if I call the police for her, she's not going to make nothing with me. And she's going to do everything, and I'm going to get...
But she's not.
And I'm gonna get deported.
But she's not doing. She's not doing anything with you anyway. Okay. The police are there in this situation with domestic violence, whether it's woman on man, man on woman, doesn't matter. The police are there to protect you. You call the police on her. In that situation, she would get arrested. If you're injured as a result of domestic violence, you have a VAWA case. You'd file on your own. You don't need her. Why would you stay there and take abuse?
Because I'm telling her when I'm gonna call the police, they're not gonna believe you.
Then do it.
If you do it, you're gonna get deported. I'm not gonna do nothing with you.
That's not. That's not true. None of that's true. Okay. Hold on one second. Let's go to Kay in Los Angeles. Kay.
Hi, Brad. How are you doing, sir?
How are you?
I'm fine, sir. I've been everything up. So, please, I have a question, please. So I had a friend, he got from interview like 2018.
What happened in 2018? I didn't understand.
Okay. I said I have a friend, so he went for interview.
You went for an interview in 2018, okay.
Yeah, I think it was started for 2018. And he got approved on 130, but the I-185 is not approved. So like this year, January, so they sent UCIS intends to revoke the approval that was sent.
Why?
He got married before this present marriage.
He got married before what?
He got married before.
Before what?
They said he should prove, he has a prior marriage.
He was married to two women at the same time. He got married to woman number two before the divorce from woman number one was done.
Not the same time. He got divorced before he married his present wife.
So what's the problem?
So is going back to the previous marriage that he should prove the marriage that is a bona fide marriage. So that's why they want to revoke.
What they're saying is that this is his second go around with immigration. And in the first marriage, they believe was not a real marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Listen, you got to prove this is the thing with marriage fraud. Okay.
Yeah.
If they have evidence that there's marriage fraud, they're going to say you can never get a green card for the rest of your life because you committed marriage fraud. What's marriage fraud? Marriage fraud is when you file an application for something, and say you love this woman when you don't. When this woman says she loves you and you don't. It's a marriage of convenience. It's a marriage of I just got married to get a green card. Whether that's I decided to marry my friend. Whether that's I paid somebody to get married to me. Whether this person's doing me a favor. All of that's marriage fraud. None of that's love. So when you do something that is something other than love, that's when they accuse you of marriage fraud, and as a result, you are barred from getting a green card for the rest of your life. Now, let me finish. Yeah. Let me just finish everything because this is good for everybody to know. All right. So how does government figure out whether there's marriage fraud or not marriage fraud? They give you an interview, and what are they interviewing you? Do you live together in the same household? Do you have a financial relationship? Do you know about each other? Do you know each other's, middle names? Do you know how many locks are on the front door? Do you know what your husband's mother's name is? When was the last time you saw your husband's mother? We can go on and on and on. Do you have a relationship? That's how they determine it, because there's no tool that says love meter. There's no such thing as a love meter. So in this first marriage, there was obviously evidence. There's obviously evidence to show that you couldn't prove you lived together or have a financial relationship. Now, there's a big difference. There is a big difference between the government saying we have evidence there's marriage fraud, and the government saying, you know what, There's some evidence there's marriage fraud. There's some evidence that it's a real marriage. We're really not sure. You just were not able to prove this was bona fide. You not being able to prove it was bona fide is different than marriage fraud. So if you get a notice of intent to deny based on marriage fraud, you have to prove to the government that it was a legitimate marriage. I just wasn't able to prove it at the time. I still can't prove it, but I have enough evidence to suggest that this is something other than marriage fraud. And that's what you need to do. Now, I have no idea what they're... I don't want you to talk about... I don't want you to talk about allegations of marriage fraud to everybody, because that would be pretty stupid. Because right now, we don't have an attorney-client relationship. Your relationship is with me and Tamika and Cordella and everybody else, Lisa Bling, and everybody else in the Brad squad. So there's no attorney-client privilege right now. So you can't say
marriage. But he submitted all the evidence.
That you are arguing with the wrong guy. You are arguing with the wrong guy. I just told you. You can tell me from here to the end of the world, I submitted this. We don't have an attorney-client privilege, and when the U.S. government is alleging marriage fraud, you shut the hell up. And you wait and have a private one-on-one consultation with an attorney. And it's very well possible, I'm not doubting you, that your first marriage was real. I'm not doubting it at this moment. What I'm saying is, you be quiet about it. You have a one-on-one consultation with an attorney, and you figure out what evidence you have to suggest otherwise, and let the attorney argue it out for you. But you don't argue it with me on this show right now. There's no attorney-client privilege. Hold on. Let's go to Andrew in Los Angeles. Andrew.
Hi, Brad.
How are you doing?
Good, Brad. I have a question. I came into the U.S. in 2017.
Yes.
And I got married in 2018. We had a bona fide marriage. Everything was going on well until I started noticing cheating, which turned into physical abuse, which turned into mental and heavy psychological abuse.
So you filed a VAWA case. You filed a VAWA case.
On one of those times, I overreacted, and then I got arrested. The arrest was for domestic violence and for vandalism, but I was only charged with vandalism, which got dismissed eventually. Okay. So we went for an interview, and during the interview, she fell sick. We couldn't continue. Afterwards, they invited us for a second case, but we couldn't go because I eventually filed.
I'm lost now. You filed a VAWA case, but you had a problem because your ex-wife or your current wife triggered you, and you got arrested for domestic violence too.
No, I didn't file. No, when I filed, when I got arrested, the case
what are you filing right now for a green card? Because I'm lost on your case.
Right. Okay. Right now, I filed for a VAWA case.
Okay. So who's falling asleep at an interview?
Okay, we went for an interview.
Who's we? Who's we?
Myself and my wife. That was before I filed for a VAWA case.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point what happened with you and your wife at interviews. Okay, you filed a VAWA case now. All right. Did the second interview? Did your wife show up? Well, let me ask you this question: second interview, did your wife show up?
No, I didn't even go for it.
Okay, fine. So you went to. So let me understand. Let me just cut to the chase. You filed an adjustment, you and your wife show up to an interview, she falls asleep or whatever happened, some craziness, and they reschedule it, and then you never showed up again. And since then, you filed for a VAWA case. But your ex-wife or your current wife, whoever she may be to you at this point, triggered you, and you got arrested for domestic violence too, which got dismissed. That's basically it, right? No, Brad. Before we went for the interview, that was last year, 2019, she triggered me. We both got arrested for domestic violence, and I was also arrested for vandalism. But the case was dismissed.
Where then eventually we went for an interview, which she fell sick during the interview. They invited her for a second date, but before the second date, I found her with another man on our bed. I filed for a viral case. And then the viral case is going well. I got a receipt, I got a prima facie, and I got my work permit within 3 months. But I want to find out if that arrest would play any part in my viral being approved.
I repeated your story that you have now repeated to me again. The only thing you added was that you caught your wife in bed with another man. That's the only thing that I didn't repeat from the time before. Exactly what I just said, but I listened to it a second time with everybody else. And the answer is, if you're even arrested for domestic violence, it could affect your good moral character. Now, the fact that the case got dismissed, the fact that the case got dismissed is good, but you have to prove good moral character when you file a VAWA case. So there's 3 things. You got to prove it was a bona fide marriage, you got to prove good moral character, and you got to prove the abuse. So I don't know what you got to prove good moral character, but that is a strike against you. For moral character, you need to now, if you like, one of those, scales of justice, and you say, okay, arrest for domestic violence, case dismissed, still moral character issue. All right, so now you don't have good moral character, and the scale's kind of looking like this. What are we going to put in the other bucket to make it go like this? What do you do that's good? That's a good thing. So I don't know off the top of my head. And it took you 4 minutes to explain something that I explained back to you, that you explained to me, that you explained back and forth 5 times. This needs a consultation, because if you're going to tell me about your good moral character, we'll be here till midnight. Hold on 1 second. Let's go to Paulette in Jamaica. Paulette.
Hello.
How you doing?
Brad. Good afternoon, Brad.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
I'm good, thank you.
Good afternoon.
I have a question to ask.
Good.
Hello.
I hear you,
Good
Paulette.
afternoon.
Paulette, I hear
question.
You. Okay.
The public charge rule has been blocked. So does people who go into the embassy now still have to fill out the DS 5540 form?
Yes. Because the Trump administration hasn't said what they're going to do about it yet, and they're likely to appeal. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. You still have to do it at this moment. The answer is yes. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
Okay. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.